This is what was lacking in the mind of the young man who called him. Because no one had explained to him, you must appropriate the meaning of the sacrament. It's not really the experience of physical reception. It's the imitation of the good things demonstrated therein. And then the supernatural power of God comes, and we cooperate with it, but by internalizing it. Finally, I want to say just a word about relationship with Christ in the persons of his members. Albert of Clairvaux was a Benedictine abbot in the 12th century who composed a famous reflection on Christian friendship. And he wrote, "Here we are, you and I hope Christ, a third, is in our midst." For Albert, there's a knowledge of Christ that can only emerge in the midst of believers. We can only experience it through dialectical engagement, the I and thou of interpersonal exchange. When I first became Catholic, I was privileged to meet a Dominican priest who was 100 years old, an Irish Dominican, who had once edited the Pope's newspaper, L'Osservatore Romano, been in Rome under 3 popes, and he was living in a local convent near my home. And I thought this guy would be an amazing opportunity to learn more about the content of the Catholic faith and what it's like to live in Rome and work for the Pope and drive in Ireland, and that was a part of the world I wanted to learn more about. So I made an appointment to go visit him. He was blind, so he needed people to read to him. I wanted to go read to him. And as I got to know him and was reading to him, we discovered that we had far more in common and mutual interest in one another than we did in the texts. And so we put the reading aside, and we just began a relationship of discussing theology and the church and church history. And he was a brilliant intellect. He knew the writings of St. Thomas backwards and forwards, and he knew more about the church than anyone I'd ever met. But after several years of this relationship, I began to realize that the real value to me was not his profound knowledge of theology, but his ability to channel that in service to me as a human being. And even as Christ looked at that young man and loved him, so Father Lambert looked at me and loved me. And he would always ask me, how's your father? How's your mother? How are your wife and your children? How's your work? How's the bishop? And it was that interpersonal exchange of love that unfolded to me ultimately the real value of Christian relationship. And I came to realize the truth of Paul's words. If I have the gift of prophecy and I can fathom all mysteries, but I have not love, I am nothing.